Everybody's had some adventures. Everybody's had a few close calls. Everybody's got a story. What's yours?
Hello, friends, and welcome to episode 12 of Cool Story with David J. MacNeil. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate your continued support. This episode features a conversation with my friend and former Groupe Média TFO colleague, Alex Normand. For 20 years now, I have done freelance work for the Franco-Ontarian public broadcaster TFO. A few years back, I met Alex when I was producing promos for the after-school French language tween show, Flip, that Alex co-hosted. One fall, when I returned for a new contract, Alex was no longer with the show, which is when I learned that he and his girlfriend MJ, who worked at TFO behind the scenes, had left their positions with the broadcaster to make the leap of faith and become hosts of their own French language online travel series, Alex and MJ on the Go. Since 2016, they have spent their time crisscrossing the world, sharing their adventures with their expanding fan base. Alex and I sat down to talk about the nuts and bolts of financing and producing such an ambitious project. We also chatted about Alex's early days as a performer and how he embraced the entrepreneurial spirit at a very young age and formed a touring illusionist act with two other friends while still in high school. So without further ado, as we say in French, ahoi, let's go. Hey Alex, how you doing?
Hey man, I'm doing top shape, like we say in French.
Yeah. Where are you right now?
Currently sitting in my little living room in Vancouver, BC.
Yeah, you've got you rented an Airbnb there. Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, so we've been in BC for about 4 months now. We got here right when COVID hit. We were in Vietnam, and when Justin Trudeau said all Canadians abroad should come back to Canada, we decided to come back early. And instead of going back east in Ontario, we decided to settle in BC, which was probably a very good decision on our part.
I think so too. I think that was a really good decision. Yeah, because then you're able to continue your travels. There's so much you can experience here without having to travel across borders.
And I mean, there's so many open areas here with the mountains. We can go hiking and not see anybody for miles and miles. So yeah, it's been good.
Yeah, excellent. So for our listeners, the reason I wanted to chat with you today is that you and your girlfriend MJ are on a grand experiment / voyage. You've been traveling for 4 years now. That's right.
Yeah, just over 4 years, 4.5 years now, actually. Time goes by very, very quickly.
So tell us about your show.
Yeah, so 4.5 years ago, when we quit our jobs in Toronto, we decided to start our own YouTube channel and produce travel videos. So we're called Alex and MJ on the Go. And yeah, just like you mentioned, we've been traveling full time and we've been documenting the whole thing, throughout the years. And we've got about, 600, 700 something videos on our social media accounts and, great memories for sure.
Yeah. And you guys are also doing the show in French, which is pretty cool because I don't think there's a lot of French Canadian YouTube travel channels.
Yeah, when we started 4.5 years ago, there was nobody doing it in French in Canada. There were a few in France and Europe, but none in Canada. So that's why we decided to do it. There were a lot in English already, and we didn't really want to be a small fish in a big pond. We preferred being a big fish in a smaller pond, and it did help us out because we were able to build an audience a lot quicker, in my opinion, than if we just had started in English. So we were the first ones to do it. Now there are a few more, but what we find is that a lot of people will start doing it and then they'll just quit after like a month or two because they realize how hard it is to travel, film, and edit at the same time. So only the troopers make it out alive.
Yeah, well, you guys, was it you who proposed the challenge to yourselves that you were going to do a video every day, or was that someone else's challenge or something?
So last year in 2019, we were like, what are we going to do this year? Every year we seem to have like some sort of goal objective we wanted to do. And back when we started in 2016, there was this YouTuber named Casey Neistat. He was a
Yeah.
huge YouTuber in New York City, and he was doing one
Oh,
vlog a
I follow
day.
Casey. Yeah, I know exactly who he is. He
Yeah,
wears the shades all the time, the scraped up
he's
shades.
awesome,
Yeah.
awesome guy. And back then, I was like to MJ when we started, like, oh, we should try to do one travel video every day. And she was like, no, 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 that's a terrible idea. We don't have the time. We're traveling. It's just going to be too much work. It's too intense. And back then, I wanted to do it, but today I'm kind of happy she said no back then because it would have been too much. So at the end of 2018, after producing videos for 2 years and having some more experience under our belts, MJ came to me and she was like, hey, maybe we should do that one video a day thing, in 2019. That
Yeah.
could be our challenge. And I was like, all right, let's do it. So one night we were just chilling with friends and they were like, so what are the next plans? And I was like, well, we're going to be doing one video per day. And that's when it became official. You put it out there.
Out loud.
Exactly. You say it out loud and you have this commitment, even though, we didn't have to do it, but that was our commitment. So we said it. And then on January 7th of 2019, we started producing one video every day, every single day for 365 days. So we ended on January 6th, 2020. And we did it, man. 365 videos of us traveling.
That's incredible. That's a lot of work.
That was about 12 to 14-hour days, between traveling and, filming and editing, uploading, doing the thumbnails and all that stuff. It was a lot of work, but definitely happy we did it.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you one thing about, having worked in broadcasting for a long time and checking out your videos is they are slick. Like they're so well done. You guys really do a great job of packaging from the music and the shots. And you both seem like you have a innate sense. I know you've been working in this business for a while. You guys are both young people. You've been doing this for a while. You have a really good innate sense of storytelling for camera and stuff. So why don't you tell me a bit about how you and MJ found yourself at this place? Like, when did you figure out you wanted to do this? To be on camera and to be a storyteller.
So we both used to work in television. That's where you and I met. Used to work at TFO. MJ was a production assistant, so she was working behind the cameras with the directors, and I was in front of the camera. I was a TV host, hosting TV shows for teens and tweens, like 9 to 12-year-olds. So I've always been, an entertainer. And before that time, I actually used to be a professional magician. I don't know if you knew this.
I did not.
But yes, surprise, surprise. Everybody's always surprised when I tell them that. But when I was about 12 or 13 years old, I started, doing magic with a friend in high school. And that project kind of blew up. We started building illusions and doing big stage shows. And after high school, we actually went on tour for 2 years across Ontario, a little bit of Quebec. So we were actually three of us, three illusionists. We were called Thrillusions back in the day. We each had our black suit with a colored tie. We were actually known in the Francophone market, if we will, in like schools and stuff like that. So we performed like 400 shows, I think, throughout those 2 years in schools, community centers and stuff. So that's how I actually started my career as an entertainer, was to perform magic shows. And when I was 18, I actually got a gig in Ottawa to host a new kid show or tween show. And that was the first time I was on TV or actually like hosting a show. And I'll be honest, I sucked. I was not good. I had some script I had to learn, and it wasn't like, like some people might say, it's pretty good, but for me, I'm too critical on my stuff. So I find it kind of very amateur. But anyway, so that's how I started, and that's where I'm at.
You learn a lot when you suck.
Yes, exactly. You really don't want to suck, so you work twice as hard to stop sucking. So that was at 18, and then at 22, I kind of quit doing the whole magic thing, and I got a job at TFO. Moved to Toronto, got a gig as a TV host there, and that's where I met MJ. And
Yeah.
MJ and I became really good friends for the first 2 years. And then after 2 years, we kind of became more than friends.
Yeah.
And MJ was a big traveler. She had traveled to probably over 25 countries already. She was doing like 3 to 4 week trips
Hmm.
every year, traveling all around the globe. And when I approached her, I said, "Hey, you like to travel. I like to be an entrepreneur. I like to entertain. I like doing my own things. I'm kind of tired of the 9 to 5 gig. What do you
Hmm.
think if, we just pack our bags, quit our good jobs, leave our friends and family, and just start traveling?" And
Yeah.
the reason I got this idea was because the show I was working on, we were collaborating with a lot of YouTubers in Quebec,
Right. I remember
and
that.
none of them were doing travel stuff.
Hmm.
It was all like beauty, music, comedy, and
Hmm.
nobody was specializing in French in the travel industry. And YouTube was starting in Canada, in French Canada, anyways. You were
Yeah.
starting to see those little self-made online stars, and I was like, I want a piece of that. That looks kind of interesting. So we were like, let's go travel for a year, start making videos, and let's just see what happens. And that's pretty
Hmm.
much how Alex and MJ on the Go was born.
That's amazing. And then it sounds like you guys were, obviously you're a good fit in terms of energy and stuff because you're a real couple, and you can tell that you guys worked well together. And then plus she's got the all that experience behind the camera too. You've got the experience. It really rounds out everything nicely. And plus she's a big traveler already. It seems like it was a perfect match for you guys, uh, both personally and then on this project professionally.
Yeah. And I mean, traveling and working with your partner is not something that's for everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody says that travel will make it or break it. Either if you're traveling with, your life partner or just friends or family and stuff like that. I mean, sometimes it just doesn't work. I mean, you can
Yeah.
be the bestest of friends, but you start traveling and then shit hits the fan and it just doesn't work. But for us, yeah, it just works. I mean, there's no explanation, there's no secret sauce. We each have our own personalities, but it works. And
Yeah.
we're lucky for that. Actually, we're very happy that it did work. Because we're still a couple today. We're still very happy, and we have a thriving YouTube channel and business. So it's good.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. My wife used to say that. Well, before we were married, Belinda, she traveled all over the world and stuff because she works in travel. And we started dating. And not long after we started dating, things were going well. She's like, "Do you want to come to Australia with me to meet my family?" Because her sister lived down there. And we went down and that worked out well. And she was saying, "Yeah, if you can travel together, you'll be all right." Because
Yeah,
it's when you're traveling and things go badly and you lose that comfort and all that kind of stuff when things are unstable that you can figure out whether or not it's going to work.
yeah. No,
When the shit hits the fan.
it's the ultimate test for sure. I think that every new couple should just go on a trip when they start dating so they don't waste their time if ever they're not meant to be together.
Yeah, yeah.
Just date for a week, then go on a 2 week trip, see if you're meant to be. If you are, then stay together. If not, just move on.
Yeah, even better go camping together for a
Oh,
while.
yeah.
That'll really So you guys, I was asking you about this and I was surprised when you first told me, the big question when you do something like this is how do you pay to do this? And a lot of people in your position would look to your subscribers to help with donations through Patreon or different organizations like that or but you guys decided you were going to do something different. Tell me about how you guys are funding your travels.
Yeah, so we always told ourselves that we weren't going to be just influencers,
Hmm.
making money off ads or Patreons, like you mentioned. We always wanted, you know, to have a different business plan, if we will. So the first 2 years, I mean, we were building our brand, building Alex and MJ on the go, just making videos, making the subscriber count go up as much as possible. We were doing some corporate work at the same time. So doing like promotional videos for businesses. We did a lot of also like exchange of services while traveling. So the
Hmm.
first one we did was actually we approached a travel operator in New Zealand and we offered them, a promotional video in exchange for an 8-day trip with them. So we just hopped on their bus for free for a full week and a day. Yeah, so 8 days, and we just filmed the whole trip. We produced this promotional video for them, and we got the trip for free. And then they liked it so much that they referred us to a company in Africa, which we did the same thing, but instead of an 8-day trip, it was a full month. So 30-day free trip doing safaris, backcountry in Africa. And we're just shooting videos for our YouTube channel. So that's how we kind of started. It wasn't bringing any money, but at least we weren't spending any money on the trips.
You were maxing out on relationships and stuff. That's perfect.
Exactly. And when we started getting, a little bit bigger on social media and having more experience with the whole producing videos, promotional videos, doing corporate work, we decided to create an online course and teach, the art of filmmaking, because we were starting to get a lot of questions on like, oh, which camera do you guys use? How do you guys edit your videos? And, all those technical questions. We were used to getting questions about traveling only, but at one point it kind of pivoted and we started receiving those technical questions as well. And at that time, we actually bought a course ourselves, an English course from this guy in the US that he created, and he was teaching filmmaking. And, again, when I saw his course, I was like, oh, well, there's nobody who's doing this in French. I mean, there's a lot of French people in Canada or in Europe that would love this kind of course, but they won't buy it just because they don't maybe understand English as well, or they're not as comfortable with the language. So I was like, maybe we should make our own course and, make it in French and, sell it to the French audience. We have an audience as well. We can promote it through our social media. So that's what we decided to do. So in 2018, we started, putting together that course, and we started recording lessons, just producing as much content as we could. And then we started selling that course, promoting it. And to this day, that's pretty much what's, keeping us traveling full time without really needing to be somewhere specific and producing corporate work all the time. So it's really giving us that flexibility to to be digital nomads and just making a revenue while traveling.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you were saying you've got quite a few subscribers to your online course too, right?
Yeah, so we've got about I would say just over 600 members who bought into like our full program, which is like everything from equipment to shooting to editing to promoting your business and making a living out of video production. And now we started splitting up that big program into smaller programs. So for people who just want to learn editing, well, they can just buy the editing modules and not have to buy the whole package, So now we're splitting everything up. So now like total, we're probably at over 700 or 800 members throughout our whole course programs. But the flagship one, we have over 600 members.
Wow. So I'm guessing that as you go, you're, if you pull out a new lens that you've purchased or whatever, and you're shooting and that day, it's like, oh, well, we'll do a module today on how to use this new lens or that sort of thing and incorporate it into your day and then move on.
Yeah. So our course now has, I think, over 50 hours of video lessons. So it's like getting pretty big. We've got over 300 videos. So it is a course that we keep adding new content to on a monthly basis. So actually every 2 weeks, we put out, sometimes 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 new lessons. So per month, we're looking at easily 10 to 20 new video lessons for our members. So they keep learning all the time. And everybody's enjoying it, to be honest. Like, I'm very proud of what we built and people really like it. Like we've never had a negative comment about it. So it's been good.
Yeah. Well, and that's amazing too, because that's always the difficulty of being French Canadian or speaking French in North America is that there's often all those services you see for Anglophones. It's like, okay, well, who's going to come up with the same service for Francophones? And there you have it.
But I think what's making us even more proud is the fact that a lot of those people, like one, you see their evolution, like how what the videos they used to produce look like to what they look like now. But a lot of them actually make a living. Like they have a business now, a video production business, producing videos for clients. So when you see that, you change someone's life and you allowed them to make a revenue from their passion and their dreams and stuff. It's it's very fulfilling as a teacher.
Well, no kidding. And your company's called Filmmakers on the Go, right?
Yeah. The name of the academy is Filmmakers on the Go. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sure I'm going to be working somewhere at some for some broadcaster one day, and I'm going to be working with somebody, and I'll be, oh, cool, that's pretty neat what you just did there. Where did you learn how to do that? And they're going to be, I learned it from filmmakers on
There you go.
the go. And how did you decide what your first country that you were going to visit would be?
So the tricky part with us is that because MJ had already traveled a lot, it kind of eliminated a lot of possible countries that we could go to. Not
Yeah,
that it's impossible. I mean, it's more fun for her if we go places she's never been also, so we both
sure.
live that first time experience.
Yeah.
So I hadn't traveled a lot. I think I had done one trip, outside of Canada and the US when we started. That was in Ecuador. I went with a
Hmm.
friend in 2015 or no, 2013 or something. Anyways, so there was a lot of options for me, not as many for MJ. So we decided to go to a place that we both haven't gone to. So we
Hmm.
decided New Zealand was a place where we wanted to start our trip. New Zealand was probably the country that was at the top of my bucket list back then. Don't know why. I just
Yeah.
always wanted to go to New Zealand, other side of the world. So that's
Hmm.
where we decided to go. And the plan initially was to actually stay there for a full year. So we actually got like those working holiday visas so we could
Sure.
work and travel and stay there for a full year. So we had those in our back pockets. But when we started traveling, started producing videos, 2, 3 months in, we started getting more traction on our channel. And we were like, well, we can't stay in New Zealand for a year. I mean, I think we could have, but we
Hmm.
wanted to travel more. So we're
Yeah.
like,
People wanted
let's just,
variety.
yeah, so let's just keep traveling, let's go to other places, other countries. So we stayed in New Zealand for 4 months, I think, in
Hmm.
total. And then we went to Fiji, which was pretty close. And, plane tickets were quite cheap leaving from New Zealand.
Yeah.
And then we actually, just kept on traveling that whole year. So we did 13 countries that first year in 2016, and that's counting 6 countries in Africa. So we did
Hmm.
kind of like a world tour aside from South America that first year.
Okay. Right. Yeah.
But I mean, we were kind of broke that first year. We'll be honest. We had some money aside. We had about, I think it was like 6 grand or something each. When we started traveling, but like I said, the plan was to work in New Zealand, but that never panned out. So we started traveling, and the money in the bank account was kind of going lower and lower and lower. So that's when we decided to go to Asia, Southeast Asia, where
Hmm.
everything is pretty cheap.
Yeah.
We went to Sri Lanka for a little while, so that was pretty decent. And then we had that
Hmm.
free trip in Africa, so that helped us a lot.
Right.
But it was a good experience, very tiring, but a good trip.
Yeah. Well, traveling itself is exhausting.
It is. It is.
Especially just the flying and whatnot, and it can be very exhausting, and then you got to do a pretty intense job while you're at it. I mean, it takes a lot of energy.
Yeah, a lot of people, you know, come back home more tired than they were before starting to travel. Just because you're always thinking, all right, where am I going to stay tonight? What am I going to eat today? Where am I going to eat today? What activity am I going to do? And then you do the activity. So yeah, it is very tiring to travel. It's
Yeah.
no picnic. It's no picnic.
No, no. And was there somebody that you would watch before that really, in terms of like a travel host professional or whatever, that you kind of liked or mimicked yourself, or you just kind of quickly fell into your own groove and your own style?
um, I'll be honest. I never watched travel content online.
Yeah, yeah.
The only YouTuber I was watching back then was Casey Neistat when he was doing
Hmm.
his daily vlogs. And we were tremendously influenced by his style, like
Yeah,
a
yeah.
lot. Using the same kind of music, trying to do the same time of pacing and stuff like that. And I think that's normal when you're starting off on YouTube or you're starting off, creating your own content. You're always going to be influenced by somebody, and you're kind
Sure.
of going to be, I don't want to say copying their style, but very close to. So once we started getting comments like, "Oh yeah, Casey did something like this," or "Yeah, this looks like a lot like Casey," that's when you're like, I really have to start,
Putting
building
your own
or
stamp.
doing my own thing. So it took us probably like a good year and a half to find our own little way.
Mhm.
Now today, I mean, our videos don't look at all like Casey's videos, which is good because we found our style finally.
Mhm.
But yeah, definitely Casey was our big influence when we started. But he was not traveling. I mean, he was just staying in New York the whole time. We just
Yeah.
liked the way he was building his vlogs.
Yeah, and he kind of seems to touch on so many different things. I only discovered him because I'm into longboarding and I have a couple of electric longboards. And, I was just, going down the rabbit hole of watching all these longboarding videos and he's into that. So,
Yeah.
I found these videos of him whipping around New York City on an electric longboard and stuff. So I wouldn't have known about him, otherwise, but he just seems to be into everything. Like anything you can think of, especially in terms of like high energy sports and stuff like that and a bit of danger. He's all over that stuff.
Yeah, he's a cool guy. Looks like a down to earth person too. You just felt like you were his friend while watching him, and that's kind of what makes a YouTube channel successful or not. Is if somebody can say, "Oh, I want to be friends with that person,"
Yeah.
that's when you start building your channel, and then it just starts growing. So you just got to
Yeah.
be yourself. And Casey was definitely himself.
So talk to me about some of the highlights of your trip. So what are the places that you've gone to that surprised you the most, that opened your eyes up to new ways of living or whatever, or the beauties of Mother Nature, or what's really hit you as you've traveled?
So one of the questions we usually get is, what was your favorite destination, favorite country, and stuff like that. For us, the coolest place we've been was Africa. I mean, I know it's not a country; it's the continent, of course,
Hmm.
but it's just so different over there. I mean, we traveled the east coast of South Asia.
Hmm.
So we traveled the south So we traveled the southeastern part of Africa. So we
Yeah.
started in Cape Town all the
Hmm.
way up to Kenya. So we did, I think, 6 or 7 countries there. And it's just so different from anywhere else. I mean, everywhere else where you travel, there's always going to be the biggest waterfall, the nicest hike, the oldest temple, the oldest church. There's always,
Yeah.
those kind of things that come back from country to country. But in Africa, there's just nowhere else where you can go on a safari. There's nowhere else where you can see those types of villages or, stuff like that. So that was definitely our highlights throughout our travels. And we actually did one of our trips in Africa for like a weekend. We were camping in one of the national parks, the Serengeti National Parks in
Yeah.
Tanzania. And we had our tents. We were with our group. And at night, we were opening our tent and we could see some eyes,
Yeah.
near our tents. We could see hyenas, the silhouettes of hyenas walking by our tents.
Yeah.
And that was just incredible. I mean, at one point during the night, MJ had to go pee. And, they always told us, if you have to go pee, make sure you go with somebody. So, of course,
Yes.
who does she wake up? She wakes up me. So she
Yeah.
wakes me up. She's like, Alex, I have to go pee. I'm like, are you sure? She's like, yes. I'm like, okay, well, open the tent and tell me if you see some eyes. She opens the tent and she's like, there's a buffalo about 10 meters away from our tent. And I'm like, a buffalo, MJ, that's one of the big 5. Well, MJ, I don't think we should go outside. There's a buffalo. It's like, oh, I really have to go pee. I'm like, okay, well, we'll just keep an eye on the buffalo and make sure it doesn't, charge us.
Yeah.
So,
Because they're pretty aggressive, and even worse, they're not that smart.
yeah. So we get out our tents and I'm just like wearing my boxers, not even putting pants on. It doesn't really matter. And the toilets were like maybe, I would say, like 50 meters away. So not very far, but when there's a buffalo watching you, it can be quite far. So we
Yeah.
get out our tent, we start walking, and there was this like cafeteria kitchen thing. And when we got to the corner of that building, right around the corner, there was another buffalo standing right there. So we were like 5 meters away from that buffalo, and then another like 15 meters away now from the other buffalo. So we're kind of sandwiched between those two buffaloes. And I was just wearing my boxer shorts. I'm like, oh my God, what do we do? What do we do? I don't want to start running and, aggravating the buffalo or whatnot. So I was like, okay, let's just run to the washroom, run. So we just started running. I went into the ladies' washroom with MJ, just to be safe.
Mhm.
But no, we're inside, but we kind of have to come back now.
Yeah.
So it's the same problem. So again, I was like, okay, MJ, now make sure there's no other no. I was like, so make sure there's no other eyes. There's no like hyenas or anything in the bushes. We just double checked, and then we just started running as fast as we could. Went inside our tents, and we came. We ended up being alive, of course. So that was kind of exhilarating. And the next morning, what we learned is that another buffalo was attacked by a lion about 150 meters away from our tents. But
Yeah.
we didn't hear that. But knowing that there was a lion nearby, I don't think I would have gotten out the tent.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's the thing about Africa. I've been once because my wife is South African, and so I get a chance to go to South Africa and go on safari. And I was telling the ranger, I said, the interesting thing about it is it's the only time you're ever in a situation where you are potentially part of the food chain.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen in Ottawa, Canada.
No.
There's just no circumstance like that. But when you're out in the bush like that, you're part of the food chain again, possibly, and it keeps
Not
you on your toes.
Eat. Not much to eat off of my body, but I mean, definitely a couple bones to chew on.
Yeah, but you feel that, right? I mean, you feel there's no. I was talking to the last podcast I did actually was with a ranger, a game ranger from South Africa, and he was saying like you're in the moment, man, because you can't. He goes in his words. He said you can't be out there, especially on a bush walk like what you were doing out there walking.
Yeah.
You're not thinking about your bank account. And you're not thinking about all that crap. You're not thinking about, whether, returning that email to your folks right away or whatever. It's just like you're in the moment. You're there.
And it's awesome. I mean, I'm just looking very forward to going back to Africa. And the next thing at the top of my bucket list is to go and meet the mountain gorillas.
Yeah.
And like Uganda and stuff like that. That's really something I really, really want to do. So I'm really hoping that in the next, year or 2 years or so, we can go there and check them out because that looks insane.
Well, it sounds like I need to put you in touch with my last guest, Richard Duguvea, because he does those tours.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Definitely.
We'll have that conversation after the podcast.
Yes.
But that's the one thing about going to Africa that I was blown away by. I just had this feeling inside of me while I was there that there's somehow that we come from there, and it's a special feeling. Can't put a finger on what it is, but it's a special place to be.
Yeah, and unfortunately, like not a lot of people get to experience Africa because one, it's so far, and two, it's very, very expensive to go there. Like just to do, I think a 30-day trip, organized trip. I think it's like a $5,000 or $6,000 thing plus, traveling expenses like planes, and it takes time. You can't just go there for a week. It's not like going to Mexico. If you're leaving from Canada, you have to go at least 14 days to be worth it because you've got 2 days of traveling to go, 2 days of traveling to come back, the jet lag. If you're just there for like 7 days, it's too short. You need at least 2 weeks.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But if anybody's listening and thinking of going to Africa, definitely go. Just wait for COVID and everything to be done, but definitely go at one point. It's definitely worth it.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, that's why everybody says that's a bucket list trip. Yeah. And it does cost a few bucks, but it's worth it in the end. It's an experience.
It's all about the experiences.
Yeah. So what else do you like? What are the other spots that you've hit that really kind of moved you?
I mean, one place that we really feel comfortable, and now it's become very touristy, but for me, it was Bali. I mean, weather is good. It's super cheap to live there. People are super nice. We just really enjoyed ourselves when we were there. We were there for 3 months the first time, a month and a half, I think, or 1 month the second time. And it's just kind of like a go-to place to relax, like when we're between countries and stuff. But a big surprise for us was actually in Canada. Last year, we went to Newfoundland, and we just loved that place. I mean, it's not really talked about for some reason in Canada. Most people will always talk about the West Coast, which is obviously beautiful with all the mountains. But on the East Coast, I mean, you've got some very beautiful landscapes too. The people are the nicest in Canada there. It's just different. And I think it just surprised us that we hadn't been there before. And we really, really enjoyed our time there. I'm really looking forward to going back. But this time we want to go a little bit earlier in the year so we get to see the icebergs.
Hmm.
along the coast. But yeah, definitely Newfoundland is a place not very far from, if you're traveling within Canada. It's a 2-hour flight from Ottawa or Montreal, and you're there, and it's awesome. It's small, so it's pretty easy to travel within like a shorter amount of time. And we went to Saint Pierre and Miquelon, which are
Yeah.
the
Oh, that'd
two
be
French
interesting.
islands,
Yeah.
and that was crazy. Like that is nuts. You take a ferry, and 90 minutes later, you get there, and you're in France.
Yeah.
Like it's like
You're
people
paying with
speak with the
euros and
French.
everything. And
Euros, people speak with the French accent. There's French flags everywhere. There's
yeah.
bakeries on every corner of the
Yeah.
street, cars, license plates, everything. It's
Yeah.
Europe, and you're like,
And people are
what?
driving around in Peugeots and Renaults and all that kind
Yeah,
of stuff
yeah.
too.
You're like, what? We were in Canada an hour and a half ago, and now we're in Europe. Like, what is this? What is this craziness?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, that was definitely worth the trip. We kind of hesitated because we didn't know if it was going to fit in our, like in our plans. But yeah,
Hmm.
very happy we went. We went for 3 days. Wasn't long enough,
Hmm.
but we will definitely go back.
Yeah. I've always wondered about Saint Pierre and Miquelon. It's such a weird, yeah, an anomaly,
Yeah.
as they say. It's such a weird little intersection of cultures just right off Newfoundland. Yeah.
And what's funny is that they don't consider themselves really as like French, but
Sure.
they don't really consider themselves as Canadians either. They're really like Saint Pierre and Miqueloners or whatever you want
Yeah.
to call them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's very very funny because when we were there, I don't remember how it happened, but we ended up being on the news. They came and did like a reportage, a thing like a
A
TV
news
news
piece.
segment, yeah, news piece about us because we were French Canadians, vloggers, travel filmmakers,
Yeah.
and they just wanted to film us and say, "Oh yeah, there's these two people," and our videos actually went viral over
Nice.
there. Like I think there's 6,000 people who live there,
Hmm.
and the 24 hours after our video was published, we had over like 10,000 views, and most of those views were from people living on the island. So we were walking around in the town, and people are like, "Hey, you guys are the Canadians, the vloggers. I saw you on the news last night." So we're like, we
Yeah.
became like little stars for about 48 hours. That was quite
Well,
fun.
that's fun, and I bet you picked up a lot of viewers while you were there, and that's how you do it, right?
Yeah, so a
And
lot
then
of
they tell
people have.
family back home, and
Yeah, exactly. And
okay,
now we still have people, who write to us every week, who comment on our videos and are like, "Oh yeah, I've been following you since you came to Saint Pierre and Miquelon." Like, all right, well, we picked up a few people. That's cool.
that's interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. Huh. And so you guys are going to travel Canada for the foreseeable future until things change and until they start flying people to other places. What do you hope to see while you're in Canada, and what haven't you seen, and then beyond that, once you start getting able to fly again, where do you want to go next?
That's a good question. I mean, we've been in BC for 4 months. We did a little road trip here in the past month, in the Rockies and stuff, and that was absolutely beautiful. Like we had been in Vancouver before, but we've never really traveled like within the province. So
Hmm.
very happy we had the opportunity to do that. Afterwards, I don't know, man. I'll be 100% honest. Like we're not eager to hop on a plane and go somewhere else. I mean, Canada is huge. We've
Yeah,
seen a lot of places in Canada, but we've seen like the capitals of each provinces, but
sure.
we've never really explored Canada as much as we should have. So I
Mm.
think we're going to be chilling in Canada for, yeah, I don't know, the next couple of months for sure. We would love to stay on the west coast, Alberta as well, for the next couple months. So we're gonna go back to Ottawa for a little while, but we'd like to drive back. But afterwards, like I don't know, like I said, the first place on my bucket list is to go back to Africa and meet those mountain gorillas. So if that's our next stop, I don't know. Life will tell. But for now, we're just going to be chilling here, making videos in our own country, and see where this takes us.
Yeah, like you said, there's so much to see too, and Uh, it would be interesting to get up. Are you thinking about getting up to Inuvik or Iqaluit or any of those places up above the tree line? Those are pretty amazing places to visit as well.
Would definitely be a good trip. I'm not sure I want to go in the winter time though, just because now it's we're approaching like fall, and things
Yeah.
are weather is going to start dropping pretty quickly. But um, yeah, definitely up north is cool. We'd love to go. To Yukon and stuff like that. We've been in the winter, but we've never really explored. But yeah, who knows? Who knows?
I know, so much to see.
Yeah, when you start traveling, you always think that it's greener on the other side. It's always more exotic to go to a different country. And,
Sure.
I get it. I mean, we've all been there.
Hmm.
But I think at this point, like, it's time to see our own country. And like you said, it's so big. I mean, there's so many different landscapes. It varies from east to west, from south to north. So we've got many different spots to cover still.
Yeah. And how has it been traveling in terms of communication? So it's great that you're fluently bilingual. You can obviously, you can depend on your English wherever you go. If you're, wherever you go, so English is quite popular in most places still, or at least accessible. Have you picked up any other languages as you traveled? How's your
Picked
Spanish?
up. Picked up is very is a very big word. Una cerveza, por favor. The
Yeah.
essentials.
Yeah.
So yeah, every time we go to a new country where English is not the primary dialect, we'll try to learn the basics. Like thank you, sorry, or
Yeah.
stuff like that. How much does
Where
it
is
cost?
this and how much is
Where is
that? And
this?
yeah.
So we'll learn the basics, but I always end up forgetting. Like after like leaving for a month or two, we're like, how did we used to say that word when we were back there again?
Hmm.
I don't remember. Like we know on the spot, but then it's like any other language. When you don't speak it, you just forget it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so we haven't picked up an actual language. Spanish is probably the one that like I can kind of understand a little bit if they're talking very slowly or like very specific words. We'll make out the sentences. Even if we pick out one word out of 10, we'll get the idea. But like I
Yeah.
would never be able to have a conversation in Spanish.
Yeah, the thing I love about French is that right now I'm in Costa Rica. We've been down here since October, and because I speak French, my failsafe or my Hail Mary is always that if I don't know the word, I will. Just for the hell of it, I will Spanishicize a French word, and
Yeah.
then half of the time it turns out to be correct because the languages are pretty close. I'm sure you've done that too.
Exactly. Yeah, that's how we're able to understand people speaking in Spanish sometimes. Like, oh, that word sounded like this word in French, and like, oh yeah, that makes sense. So that's what he
Yeah,
was talking about for sure.
yeah,
And that's how we make it out. But yeah, I would
yeah.
definitely need a good, solid Spanish course. But that will come in time, just not now.
Belinda and I have been living here in Costa Rica now since October, and of course, we never knew when we came down here that there was going to be a pandemic and how that was going to affect our lives. But one thing I've been talking to a lot of people about lately on this podcast is the shift of how people are going to work in the future, and if I can say the silver lining of COVID-19 is that employers are finding out that they don't need all of their people sitting at desks and in cubicles, that people can go home and work and that things still get done because the technology is there. Why don't you talk to me a bit about what your experience has been in terms of travel and being being able to connect? What are the things that you look for? First of all, do you do much sketching out to find out how good the internet is or that kind of thing, or how does that work?
All the time. I think internet is our biggest concern when we're traveling. We're always picking destinations or countries where we know there's going to be decent internet connections.
Yeah.
And when we book our Airbnbs, we're always going to ask the host to run a speed test and tell us what the download speed and upload speed is at their
Nice.
place.
Yeah.
That way, we know that we can download whatever we need to download for our videos, and we'll be able to upload without it taking 3 days to upload one single file. So that's definitely a big concern for us. And so far, so good. I mean, the only place where it was really slow was sometimes like in the middle of Africa and stuff. but that's kind of normal. It's part of the experience. But aside from that, I think like the world is pretty well equipped in terms of internet speed connection. But that's definitely yeah, biggest concern when we're traveling.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people would be surprised, people who haven't traveled as much, as to how many cities there are in quote unquote countries that people refer to still as third world nations or developing nations, where the internet is amazing because, a lot of those countries, like in Africa, some of the big cities in Africa you can go to, I mean, they are hooked up.
Hmm.
They got amazing internet, and they because a lot of those countries kind of jumped over the whole thing about putting telephone poles and hard lines all over the place. They just went right to that technology, right to cell phones and all that. So and they've built up their infrastructure pretty fast. So if you go to
And
places like Kigali or whatever, they kick ass internet in some of those big African cities.
yeah, and most places it's a lot cheaper than Canada.
Yeah,
Like we always buy a new SIM card when we get to a new country, so we have like mobile access, data access on our phones, and like you'll pay $7 for 15 gigabytes of internet 4G for a full month, as opposed to here you're going to be paying like $80 for your
yeah,
monthly plan. And I mean, one of the biggest reasons is because most of these countries are a lot smaller, so they don't have as much territory
sure.
to cover, as opposed to Canada. It's such a big country. It takes a lot of you
Yeah,
know
you're paying for a lot of infrastructure when you pay for a plan in Canada. You
Exactly.
know,
So that's one of the things that really surprised me was that, you know what, like these countries, cheap internet, fast internet. And if ever the Wi-Fi is not good, I can just pop in my cell phone, use a mobile hotspot, and yeah, we're good to go.
yeah. Yeah, no, it's amazing. I think there's going to be a big change after COVID about how people work and where they work.
But definitely, like pretty much, I won't say every job because there's some job that is just impossible, but a lot of jobs can be done online, anywhere, wherever you are in the world. So this whole digital nomads movement kind of, accelerated a lot this year only just because of COVID. Anybody can work from anywhere. I mean, we've met so many people who do so many different things, and they do it online now. I mean, architects, they can build their plans on their computers, send it over
Hmm.
to their clients. Accountants, obviously for us, filmmakers and photographers. There's just a whole list. Copywriters, website designers, just graphic designers. I mean, there's so many jobs you can do online now. So you definitely don't need to be in a space to every day. And I think that's going to change the way the world works. I mean, maybe there's
Yeah,
going to be less traffic now because people are just staying at home. Less expenses for businesses because they don't need to have the big 20,000 square foot, commercial space for all their employees. They can maybe downscale and have some people at home. So yeah, definitely it's changing for sure.
yeah, for sure. I read an article not long ago that basically said, forget about working from home. That was the dream. Oh, people get to work from home. Forget about all that. Now it's about working from anywhere, like
Yeah.
you're doing. It's just
Yeah.
amazing. It opens up the world in an incredible way. It's pretty spectacular, and you guys are so lucky that you're able to do that. And I think you're going to inspire a lot of people too, who are watching your journey and thinking, I'd like to do the same, or at least visit that place and be able to work from my job there.
Yeah, it's
It's
definitely a lifestyle. I mean, there is some drawbacks like anything. Like, to be honest, we don't have much of a social life because we're always traveling or always moving around. So we're not meeting, not making friends, or if we are, it's just for a day or two and then we're moving on. And then, you have to start over again. But it definitely has, I think, a lot more positives than negatives.
yeah, and the thing is too is that the thing you're doing now is a young person's game. There's only so long a person can do that, until you get to a certain age. And it's nice to be able to see the world like you guys are seeing it at the age that you guys are, and the experiences and opening up your minds to, to the world, and that's such a gift, because I think you must see the world differently and people around you so differently now that you've traveled and you've seen how other people live, and you see how lucky we are too here in Canada. And then also how things are done better in other places
Yeah.
than they are back home. We like to
Yeah.
pride ourselves on how great North America is and how advanced we are. And then you go to other places and you're just like, man, these people have really figured this part of life out. And how come we
Yeah.
haven't figured it out in Canada? Especially
Yeah.
the working too much, situation.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
pouring all of our energies into work and putting family and friends on the back burner and fun on the back burner to get the bigger car and all that kind of stuff. You see the world and you see that that's not the way people live in most places, and
Yeah. And just,
that's important.
work to pay a mortgage and all that stuff. Like, I mean, I think it's important to be money smart as well and have investments and stuff like that. But I think that, yeah, definitely, we see the world differently. And what we like to do now actually is not necessarily travel all the time, but we like to do slow travel.
Hmm.
So, we settle in a place for at least a month or 2 or 3, stay in the same Airbnb for that length of time, and use that spot, that place as a hub that we can use to visit the area or do the activities nearby.
Sure.
And that way, it's not as tiring as traveling all the time and moving around. You kind of feel like you have a little home, a little nest, if you will. You start to know the neighborhood. You start to know a little bit more about the locals, how they live. You have your favorite restaurant. You know where to make do your groceries. So you
Hmm.
kind of feel like you have more time to really learn about that place. And yeah, we try to do that as much as possible when we're traveling now. Just stay in one spot for a couple months or a couple weeks, and discovering those places. So you don't have to travel to 13 different countries every year. You can do one country and 3 different cities within that country, and you'll still get a really good idea and a really different experience of the whole traveling thing. So that's what we like to do now.
Yeah, you're not glossing over stuff, right? You're just
Exactly. Yeah.
you're getting to dig in and really get a sense of what it's like to be part of the culture a bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Very cool. So for people who want to tune in to your channel, is there subtitles available?
Yeah, so we just hired somebody actually to create English subtitles for all of our videos, so they're more
Yeah.
accessible for everybody. So now, like, if you go to all of our newest videos, you'll see the English subtitles available. And she's working her way down all the way to our oldest one. So we'll have to be patient. It's going to take a lot of time. Like I said, there's like 600 or 700 videos on there.
Yeah,
But there's definitely going to be at least 5 or 7 new videos with English captions added every week.
that's
So
awesome.
yeah,
So those people that are studying French immersion and want to pick up a little bit more French, they can learn some French while they tune in and watch you guys on your amazing vacations. And your
they
your videos are very funny.
they can learn French Canadian French, which is it's a whole different language.
Yeah, so they can learn some franglais.
Yes, exactly.
The mix. Well, that's awesome. Well, that's a pretty cool service that'll be helpful in opening up your audience a bit, because people certainly don't mind watching something engaging with subtitles.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah,
Hopefully, it's a good return on our investment.
I'm sure it will be for sure. Yeah, yeah. Well, that's awesome. That's great that you guys are doing that as well. But I've been watching, and it's fun to watch you guys travel. You guys play off each other well. You're both funny, lots of jokes, and the pacing is nice. It's a real pleasure to watch your videos. They're so well done, and like I said, the quality is really good. I mean, you for somebody who worked behind or in front of the camera for a lot of years, the production is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, there's a big difference between what we were producing back in 2016 versus what we're producing now, but it's
Sure.
all part of the learning process. And I really always enjoyed the technical aspect of producing videos. When I was in high school, I remember every time we had a school project, instead of doing those like boring PowerPoints presentation, me and one of my buddies, we always, just had fun making videos off of Movie Maker and stuff like that. So I always had that little passion for it. And when I was working in TV, it always pissed me off that I couldn't touch a camera without, getting like, the union on my ass or something. So,
Yeah.
so once we started doing our own thing, piloting drones and doing the audio, the video, doing the editing, I really felt like I was in my element, and also obviously adding the, in front of the camera part to everything. So I like the whole package of what, YouTube is allowing us to do. We're enjoying it. And obviously, like anything, you just get better every time you create something new. So we've produced over 1,000 videos in the past 4 years now for us, clients, TV and stuff. So at one point you start getting better, you stop sucking, like I said at the beginning of the podcast.
Yeah. Well, you guys are doing a lot better than not sucking. I mean, the product you guys are producing is very high quality and it's beautiful. It's so that's awesome.
Thank you.
So if people want to reach out to you, and is the best place to go right to your YouTube channel and in the comment section?
Yeah, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. Facebook is actually our most popular social media. That's where most of our people are. But everywhere you leave a comment, we'll always reply. Or at least 99% of the time. Sometimes we just won't see it, but most of the time we'll always reply. So just hit us up, comment, private message. We're very accessible people.
Yeah, and if people aren't already involved in Filmmakers on the Go, they can reach out to you and find out more about that.
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right. Well, congratulations to you guys. You guys, like I said, you guys are putting together an amazing product. It's fun. It's engaging. You get to visit all kinds of places that you live vicariously through the two of you. And it's a lot of fun to watch. So I continued success to you guys and your travels around Canada. And at some point, once we figure out how to get on planes and leave this beautiful country or leave Canada, we'll figure out how to do that. And maybe you'll be back in Africa checking out the gorillas.
Yes, we should go together and with your friend there.
Yeah. That's a good idea. We'll have to talk more about that. There's so much to see in so little time, right? But you guys are maxing out on it.
No choice, man. If we get hit tomorrow by a bus, at least we'll have lived our lives to the fullest.
Yes. Your short life will be well documented.
Yes, it will. We'll live on and on and on for centuries and centuries.
Yes, exactly. All right. Thanks, my friend. So all the best to you, Alex, and MJ on your continued travels, and thank you for taking your time to chat with us today.
Thanks for having me.
OK, merci, à la prochaine, comme on dit.
Ciao.
Merci bien, mon copain Alex Normand. C'était un grand plaisir. My thanks to my friend Alex. That was a lot of fun. If you want to check out Alex and MJ on the Go, look them up on Facebook or YouTube. Their latest episodes are also now available with English subtitles. Also, to find out more about their online French language film school, visit filmmakersonthego.com. Also, thanks again to Mr. Jerry Stamp, who wrote and performed the Cool Story theme song and all other jingles and stings that appear on the show. Do yourselves a favor and look for Jerry's music wherever you stream. And finally, thank you for listening. Until next time, pura vida.
Everybody's had some adventures. Everybody's had a few close calls. Everybody's got a story. What's yours?